There was a Harvard study that talked about the impact of connection, relationships on our physiological and emotional well-being. It's an 80-year study. They looked at some very successful families and they tried to work out what was the big difference, if there was one, in terms of quality and quantity of life.
When a man loses his wife or his partner, his life expectancy goes right down because he tends to not have this emotional connection with other people.
Yeah, because there's a lack of vulnerability, a lack of any practice in having more emotionally led conversations. And that is going to impact longevity, quality, everything.
Welcome back to part 2 of the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast. We are now jumping straight into the second part of this episode. If you haven't had a chance to listen to part 1, I invite you to go back and listen to it now. Let's continue the conversation and pick up right where we left off.
Some of the people in your life, because they're not emotionally aware, intelligent, invested, they will see that as, again, you trying to control or manipulate the relationship. But then we're back at the subtle difference between you choosing to be selfish versus prioritizing you and your needs. And unfortunately, it's just a truth that if we are honest about our boundaries, there are some people in life that just will not be able to accept that, won't want to accept that, will see that as the problem, and will not want to be part of one's life. My view, that's a blessing.
Yeah, it's made me realize some relationships, friendships were slightly abusive.
Yeah.
Where it was, so I'll just give an example. Of course, I'm not going to name the person, but I had this friend who was consistently really late whenever we met, so disrespectful of my time.
Yep.
So between 3 hours and an hour, 30 minutes and an hour's late on every meeting, and who would consistently choose the place where we were meeting.
Yeah.
We're going to go for dinner here at that time, and that friend would arrive 30 minutes, 1 hour late. Once arrived 2 hours late at a lunch in my home. Anyway, long story. And I slowly started saying, no, actually, I would rather have dinner there. Or I would do things like, I've waited 30 minutes, I'm sorry, my day's busy, I had to go. And that friendship broke down very quickly.
Can I ask you, looking back, that friendship breaking down was net positive to you or net negative to you?
It removed quite a bit of stress.
There you go.
It removed quite a bit of stress. But what was interesting is this person in question had other friends to whom she was doing the same thing. It was a pattern.
Yes.
And one of these friends started doing work on herself and started setting boundaries and saying, you know, I'm not waiting 2 hours anymore. And the same thing, that relationship broke down.
Yeah.
And that made me realize that I was caught a little bit in the drama triangle with these people, which we have spoken about previously.
We have. Perhaps best today to avoid, because it's quite a deep subject. But I'm going to give you a power sentence about what you did. You, at this time where you start to become aware of boundaries, you started to teach other people how to love and respect you. Just think about that for a second. Because I see that as my job in life.
Yeah.
My job is to teach other people how I want them to be towards me. Now, I can be very demanding and unreasonable, in which case I suspect that I'm not going to have many people in my life. But to the extent that I'm normal, inverted commas, if I teach you how to love and respect me, our relation, and you honor that and vice versa, the relationship will be so meaningful.
Yeah.
And there was a Harvard study that talked about the impact of connection, relationships on our physiological and emotional well-being. It's an 80-year study. They looked at some very successful families versus some working class families. And they tried to work out what was the big difference, if there was one, in terms of quality and quantity of life. It wasn't money, it wasn't education, it wasn't status, it wasn't opportunity, it wasn't exercise, and it wasn't nutrition. Whilst all of those things played a part, the thing that stood out most was the nature of connection that they had in their lives. And the big point that came out of it was, it wasn't about connection in terms of the number of people. It was about connection. So one healthy relationship sustains a human being. If we don't choose to create trust and maintain trust, if we don't choose to set healthy boundaries, our relationships will become net negative in our lives and create lots of trauma and lots of drama that we just don't need.
Absolutely.
And I think the example you give is a great example, where it's not about her, this friend who was late, it's about you. And what you chose to do was to set some boundaries, to protect you. I would argue with any human being, that's our God-given right. That's our birthright, to make choices that enable us to smile more and frown less. Not at the cost of another person, but through being clear about what's right for me.
Absolutely. You're so right about setting the tone, in the sense of, I'm teaching people how to love me.
Yeah.
And what I find, I'm luckily now in a very good relationship with someone with emotional intelligence and kindness. And we speak our fears. We all have fears. We all have, he's divorced, so he's gone through things too. So each one brings their own past trauma in a relationship, their past disappointments, their childhood, their everything.
Yes.
But what I find amazing, and that I'm experiencing for the first time in my life, is having someone, because I trust him, that I know deep inside is a good person. So that allows me to always give the benefit of the doubt. And when I feel that something has not been kind to me, or not, intentionally or unintentionally,
Yep.
it allows me to sit down and express.
Brilliant.
A, B, C.
Brilliant.
I felt like this, it made me feel like that, it made me feel like that. And he's able to do that too. And I find that this communication is so powerful. And you realize that actually when you go through difficult times, if you have the ability to communicate and build from that, you actually strengthen your relationship.
Absolutely.
I see it a bit like exercise. You tear the muscle,
Yep.
and the repair process makes a stronger muscle.
Brilliant. Love that metaphor.
So and that's what I was saying to him. I said to him, that argument we got over,
Yeah.
our relationship is now stronger.
Yeah.
Because the muscle tears, repaired, and the muscle is thicker.
Absolutely.
And it's
Absolutely.
not, because at the beginning, when you meet someone, it's the honeymoon phase. And a lot of people say, oh my God, it's the honeymoon phase, enjoy it, because afterwards it's not the same.
So at that point, that's where we have the tendency not to provide the feedback. We're scared of losing that relationship, right? This feels amazing. So the fact that they did that seemed a little bit odd and unhelpful and made me feel uncomfortable, I'm going to ignore it because I really like this relationship. Right there was the point in time to have the difficult conversation and to set the boundary. Because it's like the guardrails for the relationship, right? If you don't set the guardrails, then you're giving someone else permission to behave in all sorts of ways that might be completely inconsistent with your moral compass, your emotional wants and needs and the like. So, one of my favorite expressions, easy conversation, tough life.
Yeah.
Tough conversation, very much easier life. Unless we are clear about the boundaries, unless we're able to communicate them, unless we're able to provide feedback in relation to them, we're going to struggle in relationships.
And physically and physiologically, as you were saying.
Absolutely.
So the reason why women live longer than men is because women tend to have a network with their girlfriends where there is more trust, and they open up about difficult things, about emotions, they express, they process with the girlfriends.
Yeah.
Men tend to meet and they do parallel things. So they'll play golf together, and you'll ask your partner, so how is such and such doing with his new relationship? And they'll say, oh, we haven't spoken about that.
Yeah.
Because
men are from Venus and women from Mars, or did I get that the wrong way around? Yeah.
So men will meet a buddy, have a beer, but not talk about the deep things. And that, when a man loses his wife or his partner, his life expectancy goes right down because he tends to not have this emotional connection with other people.
Yeah, because there's a lack of vulnerability, a lack of any practice in having more emotionally led conversations that, again, feel difficult. If we're not practiced at this, it's very difficult for us to say, I'm hurting.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for us to say, I'm struggling. It's difficult for us to face up to the reality. So we focus on other stuff and we have very basic conversations that don't have any depth to them. And then, suddenly there's no connection in one's life, and that is going to impact longevity, quality, everything.
So there's something else that's been shown that's so interesting. You know how in Italy, in France, in many of these cultures, meals are a big celebration. People sit down together.
Yes, connection.
So in the US, for example, people will tend to eat on their own more.
Yes.
If you take the same food, let's say a plate of pasta, and you eat that on your own versus in good company, your blood sugar levels will be much more elevated if you eat it on your own.
Isn't that amazing?
Because humans are social beings.
Absolutely.
And the word companion comes with pan, bread, the person you're sharing bread with.
Brilliant.
So food, socially, with people we love and trust, it is how food is meant to be consumed, and it is better for us.
Love that.
It's so interesting. And that's why, on the Eat, Burn, Sleep lifestyle, last night I was having dinner with some really interesting people, and someone asked me, is wine okay? And we're all around the table with a glass of wine. And I said, yes, for this very reason.
Yeah.
I said, because if I cut wine out from my method, it would mean that some people might avoid social gatherings. And that is unhealthy for them.
Yeah.
But drinking on your own at home, no, that's not worth it. But if you're going to pour yourself a glass because you're in good company, much better for you. Your blood sugar levels will be less elevated. And the reason why, there's less elevation in your blood sugars when you are in company is because you produce more oxytocin.
Yeah.
And so you have less cortisol.
Yeah.
And more cortisol means higher blood sugar levels.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing how complex we are as creatures, and how the physiological affects the emotional affects the physiological? It's just a great example of modern science really helping us to understand some of the hacks that we might choose to take to live, again, happier, healthier lives.
So a good relationship helps reduce, cardiovascular issues, cholesterol, and it's been shown even with a pet.
Yeah, very much so.
Elderly people with a pet tend to have better health because whenever they cuddle their dog, they have this oxytocin, they have the love hormone, and that reduces cortisol, which reduces chronic inflammation.
Yeah. We have 2 dogs, and I call them oxytocin pumps, literally. Whenever I'm feeling a little bit down, a little bit blue, a little bit stressed, it's my go-to strategy. Is to just go, because a dog doesn't want anything from me other than a bit of attention, and it can't fail but to change my emotional state and my physical state.
Amazing.
Get a dog.
So I want to talk a little bit about your method.
Yeah.
I came to you, and what was really interesting, and now I send a lot of people to you.
Thank you.
Whether they have relationship issues or addiction issues or things in their lives that they can't fix. And I remember why I came to you. The first thing was I knew I had a pattern, and I could see the pattern with my front cortex.
Yes.
But I couldn't fix it, as if it was stuck in my subconscious mind and the autopilot was there.
Yeah.
And your method was super effective. It wasn't about dwelling about my childhood or looking too much at the past. It was very much about problem solving
Yes.
and making me take responsibility.
That probably was the very epicenter of the work that we did. And in truth, that's probably the epicenter of the work that I do with everybody who chooses to walk through my door. Taking responsibility for our stuff, in my opinion, is the only way for us to affect change. If we're walking through life blaming everybody else, well, I don't need to change, it's their fault. It's his fault, it's her fault. It prevents us, it acts as a block.
Yeah.
Whereas if we take responsibility and we shine the light on ourselves, it's amazing what we can achieve.
We only did 4 sessions,
Yes.
and you gave me a lot of homework.
A lot of homework, yes. But again, that goes back to the accountability piece, and I don't need to do the homework, or let me put it another way. I do my own homework for me, but if we want to facilitate change, there was I heard something a few years ago on a documentary that stuck with me. We are what we practice. So, if we go to the gym and we only work on our top half, we look like an inverted triangle. And if we only work on our bottom half, we look like a pear. Physically and emotionally, we are what we practice. So, if we practice a lack of accountability, and the problem is always other people or the world, there's never going to be a solution. Whereas if we choose to take accountability, irrespective of what's going on, I have a brother where for many, many years I chose to blame him for an awful lot of the drama and angst in my life. I can look back now and just see he wasn't the problem, I was the problem. I was the problem because I wasn't taking accountability for how I was feeling, and therefore I wasn't setting boundaries and I wasn't cultivating trust and so on and so forth. It starts with us holding up our hands and accepting that 90% of the drama in our lives is self-inflicted through the way that we think and the way that we feel and the way that we behave. Which, we are the masters, we are the power, the sole power and authority in our own minds, right? So we really can't blame other people for things that we're doing or feeling or experiencing. We have the power to change if we look inside.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, for these words of wisdom. So people can find you on the Therapy Lounge. I'm going to link all your details.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, it's been my pleasure, Yelda.
So
Thank you.
part of an anti-inflammatory lifestyle, please nurture your relationships, look after them, set boundaries.
Yes.
And don't think you're being selfish.
No. And recognize it might be tough to begin with, but progress is made by taking small steps. So perhaps today just think about and maybe write down 3 or 4 boundaries that you might choose to set with your loved ones or colleagues or friends, and start experimenting. I suspect people who try that will see benefits pretty quickly.
That's amazing. So you sit down, you take a piece of paper.
Absolutely.
And you maybe choose 3 people and you set 3 boundaries.
I do it the other way. I think about 3 boundaries and then I apply those boundaries to my relationships.
Amazing. That's a great tool.
It's a great tool.
To start.
Yelda, you and I, when we did the work together, we talked about how we can maintain some of these perspectives, insights, resources in our current life. I remind myself of my boundaries once a week, every week.
Amazing.
Because the more clear I am about them, the better I am at teaching other people how to love and respect me. And what a wonderful endeavor, right?
And at the end of the day, we all need to do the work. So,
absolutely.
When people exercise, they never say, when can I stop? So with emotional hygiene, which is what you teach, with physiological hygiene, which is what I teach through the Eat, Burn, Sleep lifestyle, optimal physical health levels, there is not an end to it. It's not a destination. No. It's a journey, and it's something we keep doing.
Yes.
We sleep every day. We have to sleep every day. You can't just sleep once and never have to sleep again.
Yeah.
We have to set boundaries, work on our relationships on a regular basis. And we need to look at what we're eating, look at how we're thinking, how we're moving on a regular basis. So I always tell people, I give you the tools on Eat, Burn, Sleep, but I can't do it for you.
No, quite. Could you imagine? So I go to the GP and I'm a couple of stone overweight. So I'm a couple of stone overweight. And the GP says, do you exercise? I say, no, yeah, of course. About 3 years ago, I did a 6-week course. I mean, that's insane, right? But I got to tell you, from an emotional health perspective, that's kind of what I hear all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, I did my little bit of work and I got better, but I can't remember any of it. I'm not applying any of it, and therefore I've returned back to an unhealthy status quo. Mm-hmm. We could talk for hours, Yalda.
We could, but one last thing on this. I have noticed, and we're going to record a podcast about addiction, so yes. I just want to start talking about this, that a lot of people who don't do this work internally, they tend to, in the evening, have a glass of wine to unwind.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I need this glass to unwind.
Yeah.
But you don't need to unwind if you've processed.
Yeah. One of my favourite quotes, Mo Gawdat, who wrote Soul for Happy.
I was on his podcast, yeah.
Brilliant. So you know the story of his son.
Yes.
So at the front of all of his books is a quote that Ali Mordat had tattooed on his forearm that he made up himself. And I'm going to get it slightly wrong, but it's along the lines of, the ravages of war are lost on those who are at peace. Let me say that to you again. The ravages of war are lost on those who are at peace. Yeah? So, it doesn't matter what's going on around me. If I do the work and I'm at peace, I'm okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Steve.
My pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you who joined us today. I just love having you over, and it's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And we're going to be talking about addictions in a podcast very soon, so Brilliant. I look forward to people listening to that too.
Likewise. Thank you, Yalda. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much to all of you for listening to this podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. It's always such a pleasure to talk about health, because it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Looking after our health is a daily thing, just like brushing our teeth. We've got to focus on it, we've got to do it right so we can live better and happier lives. For those of you who are not members of the platform yet, we have a discount code for all our podcast listeners. You can get 15% off the memberships. Just enter the code podcast15 at checkout. And make sure to read all the articles and all the free content we have on eatburnsleep.com to keep you motivated and informed and educated about living an anti-inflammatory lifestyle.